Haitian immigrants in Ohio are eating cats. That might not be true, but hey, at least we're talking about it, right? Wrong. But let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And there's two types of arguments that have gotten really, really popular in political and economic discourse that are garbage arguments. And I'll tell you why they're garbage arguments. But first, what are the arguments? The first, the sort of argument people make where they appeal to experts or economists. Experts are saying blah, 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 blah. Or this, the economists are saying blah, 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 blah. When you appeal to that, you're doing what's called an appeal to authority. And it sounds great because, well, I'm appealing to an authority. Yeah, but what authority? Even when somebody says to you, oh, well, studies have shown. What studies? Did you read the studies? Are you an expert on these studies now? My Lord, I did not know you were such a learned studier of studies. Good for you. The answer is no, they're usually not. They're usually not an expert on studies. And an appeal to experts or economists or doctors or whatever without specific examples of those studies or who those doctors are, it doesn't give you the ability to check what they're saying. They're trying to get you to just accept what they're saying, not because I said it, an expert said it. And you trust the experts, right? There's a nuance to that argument as well, right? Like you should, if you're sitting with an expert, talking to that expert, there is a degree of deference you can offer them. For example, if you're talking to a medical doctor about a medical issue, that's probably something relatively in their wheelhouse of knowledge. That doesn't mean you don't have to double check them. But if the doctor is saying this and grandma's Facebook post is saying something different, go with the doctor. Excuse me. But in that case, you're not making the appeal to authority. You're quite literally speaking to the authority. And when you speak to the authority, that's different. Another type of appeal to authority argument that people make a lot is they talk about the Bible or the Quran or any number of religious documents. Number one, typically never having read the document themselves. Interestingly, this is sort of the inverse appeal to authority. What you see is with a lot of people, they make a claim about the Bible, trying to use the fact that they're referencing the Bible to shut down the argument a Christian person may be making. For example, well, Jesus said to love your neighbor. Jesus did say to love your neighbor. That much is true. However, when you say Jesus said to say love your neighbor, that whole verse is actually much different than the way you're saying it. You're paraphrasing what Jesus said. Your appeal to authority is lacking because you're not even appealing correctly to the authority. You're taking what the authority said and twisting it to fit what you want, which is typically how appeals to authority work. And when you hear that argument, you should immediately become skeptical. That doesn't mean they're wrong necessarily. They may be correctly appealing to the authority, but you should still look into it a little bit deeper before you just accept it. But in a quick soundbite, an appeal to authority sounds mighty fine. I checked FEC records, and I did in fact determine that Jeffrey Epstein did donate money to another congressman. Turns out more than one person is named Jeffrey Epstein. And well, I never said it was the Jeffrey Epstein. I said it was a Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, Jasmine Crockett. Really? Anyways. So that's the appeal to authority argument that has gotten so popular on such lovely networks as CNN. It's very, very popular as well on podcasts. No one's immune from making the appeal to authority argument. I'm sure if you go back through my podcast, you'll find that I've made the appeal to authority. I've done arguments that appeal to authority as well. I try not to. It's a logical fallacy, but I'm sure I've done it. It makes you sound much smarter than you are. The other argument that I've been seeing lately, which has been used as a means of covering up for really pretty disturbing levels of just you're basically trying to start a fire when you use this particular argument and then trying not to take the blame for lighting the match. I was just trying to start a conversation, man. This argument has come up more and more and more and more and more as you have all sorts of people calling everybody on this under the sun fascists, Nazis, and then that's just the Democrats. From the Republican side, communists, socialists, whatever. They're using those terms derogatorily, although most of those people who they're accusing of being socialist actually agree with them that they are socialist. That's not the point. The point is, the starting a conversation argument is used to say, I didn't actually mean what I said. I simply thought it would be useful for us to have a broader conversation. And so in order to start that conversation, I said something completely out of left field in order to get that conversation started. You see, here I am, a hero, willing to say something controversial to draw attention to it. This came up, as I noted at the beginning of the podcast, this came up in a big way in, I believe it was Ohio over the summer, last summer before the election, when this story broke about Haitian immigrants in Ohio eating pets, basically eating cats, eating dogs, stuff like that. The problem with it wasn't so much that there wasn't an issue with Haitian immigrants in Ohio. There was an issue that needed to be resolved in terms of actually integrating people into society and working through that. But even if that's your goal, is just to say like, hey, we need to talk about these Haitian immigrants in this small town, saying something so out of pocket and that wasn't true only serves to confuse the issues and only serves to inflame part of the population. This was at the beginning of this, new wave of AI videos. So new videos were coming out seemingly every day of Haitian immigrants eating pets or capturing pets. And most of the videos were AI, and we didn't know it at the time. But this idea that, I'm just trying to start a conversation, it's garbage. It's a garbage argument designed to just insulate you from having to take responsibility for your words. You have to take responsibility for your words and actions, right? And yet you use I'm just trying to start a conversation to say I don't have to be responsible for the things that I say so long as it gets the end goal that I want. You might recognize that as the ends justify the means, which, at least in my educational background, it's never once been taught to me that the ends justify the means. Ever. Not once. If you save one person's life but you kill 100,000 people, that math doesn't work out. Even in war, we don't typically do the math as well. The ends justify the means. Even in war, where the point is we're killing people, the ends don't justify the means. That was a Germany in World War II era philosophy. We left that behind. I just wanted to start a conversation is the conversational equivalent of the ends justify the means. It's a completely weak way to try and make your argument. Better ways to make your argument include, I read this particular study by so-and-so and so-and-so, and my understanding of the results leads me to the conclusion that da-da-da-da-da-da. Why is that a better way to make an argument? Well, for one thing, you're appealing to authority, but you're appealing to a very specific authority. You're appealing to a specific research paper. You're giving someone the opportunity to go and say, well, let me go look at that research paper and see if I agree with your conclusion. It's sort of a method of peer review. Now, there are some things where you should just know the fact without having to appeal to authority. Well, according to my math professor, who has a degree in theoretical physics, 2 + 2 = 4. You don't need an appeal to authority for arguments like that. For basic stuff, we got to stop appealing to authority, and we got to stop being controversial for the sake of controversy, because just wanting to start a conversation is a really good way to just start an argument and just end up with a lot of bad things. Anyways, those are my thoughts. You don't have to agree with them. Many of you won't. If you do agree with them, like and subscribe. We are now not just on YouTube, but we are over on Rumble. So that's fun. We'll see if that goes anywhere. But in the meantime, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.